Are you ready?
I'm ready. You ready?
You ready? Am I dressed nicely?
Look okay.
How about my hair? I just washed it this morning. I can't do a thing with it.
No curlers, huh?
Okay.
Yeah. Sure. Just start wherever you want.
All right.
And just talk
Well, I'm gonna first off. I'm gonna show some old snapshots, real old ones. When I was, how old am I in this picture? Well, gee whiz, I'm probably 3 or 4 years old in this one, and that's Catherine Worthman, my good old buddy. She lived 2 doors away from me, and she and Marion and Frank and I made a foursome for a good many of those early years. We had a lot of fun together. We had tea parties and we played jacks and what kids do, and it was a lot of fun. Skip rope. And now I'm going to go to a couple other early ones.
And she lived on the same block as you?
Lived 2 doors away, yeah. 2 doors away from me. Real nice family, the Worthman family. Catherine and Marion Worthman. Marion was Frank's age and Catherine was my age. And the first time I'd seen him since we were kids, and the last time I've seen him too, was when we took Mom back to Davenport to be buried after she passed away in '62. And they looked sprightly, and gee, they looked good, and they were so glad to see me. I was so glad to see them after all those years. And all right, I think you got that, right?
Yeah.
Okay, on the left we have me up on the post, and Brother Frank down there, and Uncle Ed on the right. And on this other one, just Frank and me taking it at the same time, I guess. Frank's probably 5 or 6. I about 7, I guess. I don't know. It's pretty hard to say. Here's a bunch of my buddies and relatives. Over on the left there is Catherine Worthman, my buddy, and then comes me, and then Cousin Elm Franzen and Cousin Walt Larson, and Marion Worthman and Frank. That's a motley group if you ever saw one. And speaking of motley groups, there's one a little older, and this has my little sister Charlotte, with about 4 years old, down there in the foreground. And there's, I won't be able to name them off left to right, but my cousin Elm and Al and Frank and Dick Knut, and probably Bud Hickstead is in that group. All 13th Street crowd. Here's the marquee over the entrance there at O. Henry Park. And here is the band bus, which I told you about. It was put together like a fifth wheeler. It pulled behind the Studebaker. Can you make all that? Can you make that out? That's a horrible print. But anyhow, that's the band bus that we rode all over Middle America in over a period of several years. And there again is the marquee of the O. Henry Park. We played up at home. The band played there until about 38 or 38, I guess. From 34 to 38, that's 4 years. I left the band on my birthday of 36. All right, now let's see.
And O. Henry Park was in Chicago or not?
No, it was in Willow Springs, which is a suburb way out on the west side. But we outdrew the Aragon and the Trianon as far as patronage was concerned. Boy, it was a beautiful ballroom. Unfortunately, I haven't. Oh, wait a minute. Yes, I do. Here we are. Here's a postcard that they put out at the time. There's the exterior of the place, and there's the interior of it. Can you get that?
Yeah.
That was a great place. Boy, we would pack that place, and we loved to play there. The owners were wonderful people, and it started out as a tourist camp, and they started out with a little pavilion for dancing there, and it kept growing until This was really a palace. It doesn't show up on the picture as much as I'd like to have it.
The ballroom?
This is the ballroom. Look at the size of that thing.
Yeah. And you guys would be on the stage
Yeah,
there in the background?
we're on the stage in the background.
And the place would be packed?
Packed, yeah.
For real? Would it be packed?
We'd pack it, yeah.
Wow. So
The only time we played Tuesdays, Thursdays, Tuesdays, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday afternoon. The only time the place was not packed was during the matinee Sunday. But boy, by 7, 8 o'clock, that place was really jumping. Did you get it?
How many people would that be that it would hold?
Jeez, I don't know, a couple thousand more. It's a big ballroom. All right, now that's no, I got one more there. This is the Moonlight Gardens era. This was when we played in Springfield, Illinois. And this was one of the two places we played there. At least this is the band in front of the Moonlight Gardens, which was a big, gorgeous pavilion on the outside of Springfield, Illinois. And it was a dime a dance place. They would, people pay for tickets. I don't know whether it's a dime or not, but the old saying, dime a dance, you know. Probably it was a dime a dance. But anyhow, the people would buy tickets, and then they'd come in through one part of the dance floor, and just as the band starts up, and then as soon as we quit, we'd give them about 2 minutes of music, and then they'd all be ushered out through the sides of the dance floor, and the new crowd was coming in the middle. There wasn't a bit of lost motion there. Boy, old Roy Dexheimer that ran that place knew how to make money, believe me. He knew how to save it too, because we didn't make a lot of money. Well, for the time we did. I mean, we were making $50 a week.
Wow.
And geez, an ordinary working man is making 15.
Right.
So we had no complaints. In 1938, the latter part of 1938, I went to work for the U.S. Engineering Department, who were at that time building the dams along the river to maintain a 9-foot channel for boats, all cargoes up and down the river. And I was in the photographic department over there, and one of the things we had to do, we had to photograph the land along the river which would be inundated as a result of the dams. So that we could see with visual evaluation of the land, so they could decide what the people should be paid for this land that was going to be inundated. And this is one of the crews. And I'm the guy sitting up on the prow of this boat here. And the rest of the guys are the appraisers, and I had a guy that helped me haul stuff around. And it was a rough deal. We had to walk up and down the levees and carry all this heavy equipment all day long, mosquitoes by the billions, and hot in summer and sweaty in winter, freezing weather. It was a tough job. I worked hard for my money. All those guys did. But anyhow, that's one of the crews. This one?
Yeah.
Oh, all right. That's Sister Charlotte and Cousin Bob Franzen, and Pat Straley on the right, which was the bass player in the band, and Ralph Stee, which is my bosom buddy for all of my life. I first knew him when I was about 12 years old, and we were fast friends until he died about 2 years ago. My Uncle Ed is the one pushing the lawnmower there. He was probably at that time maybe 19 or 20 years old, and a grand guy. He was like a brother to me. And here's my great old grandfather. That's Chris Franzen, the cement and brick contractor, and laying out in the yard, which is one of his favorite pastimes. Laying in the grass, just resting because he worked hard. He worked 12-hour days, and at least early in my life he was still working 12-hour days. But at the time I was 12 years old and started working for him, they were 8-hour days then. But they were hard because it was all day long he was wrestling cement blocks and bricks and mortar He had his own business, but he worked right along with everybody else. All right, what are you on now?
I'm on your mom at the very
Oh,
top.
no, I don't think you're going to get anything there.
Well, you're going to be surprised,
Well,
I think.
Maybe so, but there's nothing on the film. It's
No, but, I mean,
underexposed.
but whose house is that?
I have no idea.
Not yours?
No, I don't think so. I don't know. I couldn't
Is she
tell you.
dressed up for church or for something like that?
No, she's, I think that, she might be. She's dressed up, I would say, so I don't know, for going out somewhere, gallivanting around.
You can see the shadow of whoever took the picture. You see
Yeah,
that
you
on
can.
the bottom?
Just the hat on the bottom, yeah.
I just noticed that.
And
And the one next to it?
that's Ed again. Uncle Ed.
Okay.
And then
And is,
the other two I don't know at all. And then Ed is
well, tell us what they might have been doing.
just hanging around over at our house. That's the barn behind the house. They're leaning against the garage door.
So were they out shooting or something?
Well, it looks like he's got a rifle in his hand, yeah. Yeah, they probably were. We had a great big pasture back at the house, which I talked about at another time. And it was immense. So we did some shooting there. Even though it was in the city, it was almost like in the country. It was so big, and there was hardly anybody in there.
And they're both smoking.
Probably are, I don't know.
Probably not unusual.
No. Wasn't unusual.
Well, speaking of usual and unusual, was their outfits, what they're wearing there, is that pretty normal every
that
day?
was typical for the area, for the era. Caps were very popular. So were the other hats. I think this is Ed here.
The bottom one? Let me
Yeah,
skip
the
to
bottom
that.
one on the left, or not the bottom, but the second bottom,
Yeah.
right here.
With
Yeah.
the same guy that's holding the gun.
Yeah, same
So
guy.
maybe Ed was taking the picture on the first one, and then
That's probably it.
the other guy's taking the picture on this one.
I would imagine something like that. And then down here, are you here yet?
Well, I didn't get the baseball guy.
Oh,
Now
Well,
I'm
that's
on
it.
I'm on the baseball guy.
that's it.
And
he
is that
was-
his uniform when he was playing for that?
Yeah, he was a pitcher for one of the local teams there. They were amateur teams, but they had a league and everything else, and they had uniforms and everything. They were next door to professional, I guess. But he never played professional ball. But he was a good pitcher. They won a lot of games.
And then down at the very bottom was
That's
someone
Uncle
with a
John.
pipe.
That's my mother's oldest brother, Uncle John, right down here. And the little guy half off the picture is my cousin Elmer. And they're sitting on the front porch at our home up on 1101 West 13th Street. Just relaxing.
Now he's got just a regular striped shirt on.
Yeah, that's one thing about
That
shirts.
looks unusual for that era.
Well, the shirts back in those days usually came without a collar on. They came with a band, and you fastened a collar to them with a place in the back of your neck and here, and so he's got the collar or the shirt on without the collar there, and he's got the top turned in apparently,
Yeah.
which was common practice, and you didn't wear the collar.
Interesting. Okay, and those two on the top right there.
Well, that one is Ed again. That's a bad picture, but that's him sitting on the front porch. Most of those were shot just about the same era, I guess. And then the one on the right, that's my dad. It's before he went into the war, so it's probably he's 25 or 26 years old there.
You really did look like him.
Huh?
I said you really did look like him.
Yeah.
If you didn't know better, you could almost say that was you.
I suppose.
And that's your front porch that Ed's sitting on?
Grandma's front porch.
Okay.
The same place. When I say the old homestead, I'm speaking of a place at 1101 West 13th Street. But they bought, Grandma and Grandpa bought it in 1900 and raised their family there, and not only theirs, but their kids' families were raised there. It was a great old place. It's passed out of the family finally after Uncle Ed died about 5 years ago, and they sold the place. But so it was in the family in the family's domain for the better part of a century. Well, let's see. Those are Ray Otto and Elmer Jansen. Those are two of Ed's brothers, buddies, and Frank and me.
Okay.
But this one, you already have that, don't you?
Yeah, but move your hand a little bit and get on that one. Say who that is again.
Down here?
Yeah.
Well, these are two of Ed's friends, and I knew them quite well as a kid, and because they were over at the house often. That's Elmer Jansen on the left, and Ray Otto on the right. They lived about a block and a half away from where we did. And the kids there, I'm on the left and Frank is on the right.
Oh, you're the kids in there. Is that your house in the background by any chance?
No, that's the neighbor's house. Our house was on the left outside of the picture.
Okay.
The car, it's a Ford, a Model T Ford, probably about a 23 variety or something in there. It was a touring car and it belonged to my stepdad. And that was his and the family's mode of transportation. And this particular picture was taken with Elm on the left there, and Al down in front, and me on the right. And this had to be about 1927, 28, somewhere in there. And well, I can't think of anything else to say there.
That's fine. How about that other one underneath the one we've already got?
That is this one?
Yeah.
Let me know when you're ready.
I'm ready.
Okay, that is Elm, my cousin. Elm and Al lived just a block away from Grandma and Gramps' place. And a good many of those years we lived at Gramps' place. And so we were buddies besides cousins. And there again is Marion on the right, and in the middle it's Catherine on the right and Marion in the middle. And those are my neighbor buddies when I was a little kid.
Are we looking down the street? Are they on the sidewalk and we're looking down the street?
Yeah, what you are, you're looking north on Myrtle Street. The house is on the southwest corner of 13th and Myrtle. And that's Myrtle going off in the distance there.
That's great.
I was born halfway up the street there on Myrtle Street. The house doesn't show in this picture. A half a block up the street is what I mean to say.
Great. Those are good ones.
Are they good ones? Ready?
Yeah.
This is a delightful picture of my granddad. That's his personality sticking out all over him right there. He's got that smile. How I love that man. And we just happened to run across this print. I'm just glad we still have it. All right, now this is the band that we went to Springfield, Illinois, and we spent a lot of months down there at two different ballrooms. One was Moonlight Garden, where this picture was taken, which was a pavilion, and the other was a ballroom on the second floor of a building downtown, which was called Rainbow Gardens. So we had Moonlight Gardens, Rainbow Gardens, both owned by a guy by the name of Roy Dexheimer, a real wheeler and dealer. He knew how to turn a buck, I'll tell you. But we enjoyed playing down there. This was tough here in this particular place because it was a dime a dance situation. We were working, we'd play 2 minutes and then we'd only have time to change music, and now we started in again. And that's the way dime a dance were. You didn't have a spare moment. But we did have intermission, so that helped. But anyhow, to tell you a little bit about the people.
Well, before I'm thinking of it, what is dime a dance? What does that mean?
Oh, a dime a dance is the way they paid for the dance, and they got in free. This was a pavilion, open all around the outside. It was a gorgeous place. And you bought a lot of tickets at 10 cents a piece. And then as you went on the dance floor, you had to pay whoever was the doorman your ticket to go in. So if you got 10 tickets, you had 10 dances coming. And normally there, why, everybody brought their own date. There was another kind of a 10 cents a dance place that they had movies of years ago, which the girls were all there. And you paid 10 cents a dance to dance with girls there. You could pick out which one you wanted to dance with. But this one was a date type thing. Or I'd say single girls go. The diamond dance, the other kind of diamond dance, the girls were paid a part of that ticket. But these people were just coming for fun, you know. So anyhow, does that answer your question?
Yeah, and the guy paid for both of them, for the couple.
Sometimes, and sometimes it's the gal. Back in those days, it was not a bit unusual for girls to stag. And men stagged. Men always stagged. But back in those days, the girls stagged. And if there wasn't enough men around, they danced together. And there was nothing wrong with that.
Right.
Now they'd start thinking they were queer or something with this present. Don't get me started. Okay. Are we ready for people?
I'm ready
Personalities.
for people.
All right.
Start on the left.
The man on the left, the piano player, is my cousin Bill Anthony. And then next to him with the accordion is Larry Lind. He was a product of Clinton, Iowa, and he wasn't with the band very much of the time. He was with us for off and on for maybe a couple of years. Emil is right behind him. Handsome guy. I wish you could see him a little better. And one that I had a lot of respect for. I thought he was a great guy. I didn't mind working for him at all, although I think he chipped us out of a few bucks along the way. Roy Winters, one of my real buddies, is a drummer back there. And look at that sexy looking drum. And then in the middle is the star of the show. That's the banjo player, Dick Stein. And then behind him and on the right is the trombone player, Franny Lear. And then next to him in the front row with the tenor sax is Glenn Clemens. Then in the back again is Roy Lear. The two, Franny and Roy, are brothers.
They were the horns?
With the trumpet and trombone, yeah. And then up in front again, the center sax player is Kenny Garrett. And on the extreme right is Roy Wolverton. Oh, wait a minute, Tom Wolverton, I beg your pardon. And as I said before, that's the shell that we played in at Moonlight Gardens. And that period was around, let's see, 30 to 32 and 33. Somewhere, off and on, we played down there several months at a time, off and on, for about 3 years. So it was a good source of income for us. This picture was taken at the Outing Club in Davenport, Iowa, where we played off and on for special dance, sorority and fraternity dances and so forth. Back in those days, the bands would put on novelty numbers, funny skits and things like that. Like we had a Hawaiian number where I did the hula dance with a grass skirt and a couple of coconuts. And things like that. Well, Pat was one of the funny men. And then next to him is Vic Stein in the background. And in front was Walt Anthony, my cousin, who had joined the band since the other picture was shown. Roy Winters back there on drums. See, he got rid of the girl on his drum. And Emil Flint, our band leader. If you can, notice an awkward-looking microphone he's got in front of him there. That's the only one we had, one microphone. And then looking out from behind Emil is Bill Anthony, my other cousin, the older brother of Walt. And then Glenn Clemens, and Kenny Garrett, and Tom Wolverton. Tom Wolverton was the other funny man on the band. And there you have it.
How about your suits? Looks like you got some double-breasted wool suits.
Yeah, we always wore uniforms, and this one happened to be a double-breasted one, and sometimes they got pretty warm, too.
Were they supplied to you from Emil?
No, we bought our own.
Oh yeah.
We decided what we were going to wear. get down to about 3 selections, then we picked the last selection, then we had to go out and buy it. We had different changes of uniforms over the years.
How about the shoes?
Well, the shoes were white in this case. They weren't always white. They depended on what the rest of our apparel was. I played bass fiddle too. Since Pat was a singer and did a lot of novelty stuff, his bass would sit there doing nothing in the meantime. But I learned how to play the bass so that when he got up there in front, why I played bass instead of banjo, which bass being a little bit more of an important instrument of the two. And then later on I took up trumpet so that we'd have 3 trumpets if we needed them. And since I wrote the arrangements, when I wanted to play in a certain number, I put myself in it.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep. Is that all of them?
That's all I got ready.
Okay.